Imagine you just bought a rolling supercomputer for, I don't know, $50,000.
Right.
And it knows exactly what temperature you like the cabin. It adjusts your child's seat perfectly the second you open the door. And it even predicts when your brakes need maintenance.
Sounds pretty incredible, honestly.
Yeah, it does. But then the actual physical metal seatbelt holding your child in that perfectly adjusted seat, it might just snap right off the steel frame in a crash. Welcome to Auto News Talk.
Well, it is quite the mental image. But that is exactly the tension defining the automotive industry right now.
It's crazy.
It really is. We're watching automakers completely reimagine what a vehicle is, pouring billions into artificial intelligence while simultaneously tripping over the most basic, old-school physical safety hurdles imaginable.
Yeah, so here is the terrain we are walking through for you. We are mapping out this massive collision between ambitious futuristic software dreams, the cold, hard physical reality of manufacturing, and the rapidly changing ways consumers are actually spending their money.
It's a wildly fractured landscape. And to truly understand where the market is going, you have to look at the extremes.
Right, because if you only look at the middle of the road, you miss the actual story.
Exactly. You have to look at the hyper-advanced technology going into the dashboards, but you also have to weigh that against the massive logistical anchors of legacy hardware. And most importantly, you cannot ignore the radical shifts in how vehicles are being sized, bought, and sold to, fit into tighter household budgets.
Okay, let's unpack that first extreme, the peak of software ambition.
Let's do it.
One report on digital retailing outlines how General Motors is building this deeply integrated native AI assistant, and it's tied directly to the vehicle's data.
Which is a huge distinction.
Yeah, to be clear, this is not just them plugging Google's Gemini or Apple Siri into the infotainment screen. They're preparing a completely separate proprietary assistant.
Which is a fundamental difference in architecture, right? I mean, a general AI like Gemini is great at handling natural language. It means you don't have to memorize specific robotic voice commands just to change the radio station or, ask for the weather.
Right. Nobody wants to talk like a robot just to turn up the heat.
Exactly. But GM's strategy goes much deeper by combining that conversational AI with their own specific vehicle knowledge and OnStar intelligence. They are drawing directly from the vehicle's telemetry.
Okay, stop right there, because telemetry is one of those words the industry just throws around constantly.
Fair point.
Break down the actual mechanism for me. What are they actually pulling?
Think of telemetry as the car's central nervous system continuously talking to the brain.
Okay.
It's this constant real-time stream of data generated by all the physical sensors all over the vehicle.
So like the speed and stuff.
Speed, yes, but we were talking about tire pressure, battery temperature, the exact position of the throttle, your braking habits, and even how often specific doors are opened.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. By feeding that proprietary data directly into their native AI, GM can provide telemetry-based responses and highly personalized ownership support that a generic smartphone app simply cannot access.
So instead of just putting a generic smart speaker in the cup holder, they're trying to build a dedicated digital butler who actually knows the house inside and out.
That is a perfect analogy. And because it knows the house, it can execute complex, multi-setting commands. The reporting highlights this great specific example of a kid's setting.
Oh, as a parent, I am listening.
Right. You just tell the AI you have the kids in the back. Because the AI is integrated directly into the vehicle's hardware modules, it can automatically adjust the music volume, move the physical seats, change the rear cabin temperature, and engage the child safety door locks all simultaneously.
See, that does sound incredibly convenient. Just one command and boom, it's all done.
It is.
But there has to be a larger corporate play here beyond just saving parents a few screen taps, right?
Oh, absolutely. This deep hardware integration creates a massive proprietary moat. GM is positioning that exact vehicle data as their major competitive advantage.
Because the tech giants don't have it.
Exactly. Big tech companies might have the superior software infrastructure and the massive server farms, but they do not have the native telemetry of the car itself. By keeping that data siloed and proprietary, GM prevents general tech companies from easily replicating that deeply integrated, seamless cabin experience.
Right. Information is the new currency.
You nailed it.
Although, what this reporting doesn't answer yet is the official name of the assistant.
Yeah.
Exactly when it launches, or which specific vehicle trims will actually get it. They're keeping those deployment cards very close to the chest.
Because building that digital butler and getting the code to talk flawlessly to the physical hardware is incredibly complex. But, as you alluded to at the start of the show, having a brilliant AI butler doesn't really matter if the physical house is falling apart.
Yeah, that brings us crashing right back down to earth.
It really does.
A separate bulletin regarding OEM updates, original equipment manufacturer updates, puts this whole software ambition into stark perspective. There's a massive safety recall for Ram 1500 pickups.
And we are talking about a fundamental physical hardware failure here, rear seatbelt anchors.
It really highlights the duality of the industry. On one side, we have AI predicting complex maintenance intervals, and on the other, a heavy metal anchor might not be properly attached to the actual vehicle structure.
It's wild. This bulletin notes the recall covers several recent model years of the truck, spanning from 2019 through 2026. Specifically, it involves the center and driver's side seats in the second row.
And the scale of this is just staggering.
What's the number?
The exact number in the U.S. alone is precisely 1,271,294 vehicles, plus tens of thousands more across Canada and Mexico.
Wow, over 1 million trucks.
Yeah, and I want to emphasize the physical reality of this fix. This isn't some over-the-air software patch that gets beamed to the truck while you sleep.
No, not at all.
Dealers have to physically inspect the rear seatbelt buckles and manually reattach the anchors to the body structure for free.
Let's talk about the mechanics of why that matters. An anchor isn't just a simple screw, It is the heavy metal bracket bolted directly into the high-strength steel of the vehicle's frame.
Right, it's what actually keeps you from flying forward.
Exactly. If the torque is wrong on the assembly line or the alignment is off, the physics of crash safety completely fail. And fixing it requires human labor, physical dealership space, and massive amounts of time.
So basic physical safety obligations remain this tremendous financial and logistical anchor for automakers, even as they pour all their capital into artificial intelligence.
Right. You can't code your way out of a loose bolt.
You really can't. But what the notice doesn't explain is how a fundamental manufacturing defect managed to persist across so many consecutive model years without being caught by quality control.
Yeah, that is a massive structural blind spot.
It perfectly captures this intense struggle between futuristic plans and present-day manufacturing realities. And honestly, you see this tension playing out most vividly in the shift to electric vehicles.
Oh, definitely. The EV space is exactly where those software dreams and hardware realities are colliding at top speed. It is a highly volatile environment.
A roundup of industry headlines compiled by Car and Driver shows that the auto industry is juggling a deeply complicated EV strategy right alongside those legacy safety issues, shifting regulatory pressures, and intense global competition.
The sheer volume of contradictory movement in that roundup is what really stands out to me. On one hand, automakers are aggressively planning future EVs.
Right.
You see blueprints for upcoming electric Volvo sedans and wagons and, a future 2028 Mercedes-Benz GLA. The forward momentum is clearly there on the drawing board.
But out in the real world, timelines and prices are shifting so rapidly it's hard to keep track. You have Hyundai actively cutting prices on performance models to keep inventory moving, while Toyota is delaying an upcoming 2027 Highlander EV.
And then you have the legacy internal combustion engine vehicles. The gas guzzlers we were told were disappearing, and they are either returning or sticking around much longer than anticipated.
Yeah, like a gas-powered Cadillac XT6 is coming back. And the next BMW M3 was spotted testing with a traditional gas engine.
Plus, that overview highlights the looming threat of Chinese automaker competition, which is causing massive executive anxiety over global tariffs and market access. The whole transition to electrification is proving to be completely messy and nonlinear.
Messy is definitely the word. There is this one detail in the headline roundup that just stopped me in my tracks.
Oh, yeah. What was it?
In California, which is arguably the cultural and infrastructural epicenter of EV adoption in the U.S., hybrids have reportedly overtaken fully electric vehicles in new registrations.
Wow. In California?
Yes. Buyers are actively balancing their desire for fuel efficiency with real-world range and charging anxiety.
Which is a crucial signal. It tells you that this massive powertrain transition is highly dependent on immediate consumer comfort and practicality, rather than top-down corporate mandates or government goals.
Right, people live in the real world.
Exactly. If the charging infrastructure isn't reliable or the range doesn't fit their daily commute, people will vote with their wallets and choose a hybrid. They are choosing the bridge technology over the full leap.
What this overview leaves open is what happens to all these future EV production timelines if consumer demand keeps pivoting back toward hybrids. Do those electric Volvos and Mercedes models still roll off the assembly line on schedule if the buyers aren't there to catch them?
It is the billion-dollar strategic question. But, here is where the narrative twists.
Okay, lay it on me.
While the new EV market is showing hesitation or price cuts, the used EV market is telling a completely different, surprisingly positive story.
Really?
Yes, but only if you know exactly what you are doing.
Market insights from a used EV marketplace founder reveal that used EV values are actually rebounding nicely. Retail demand is up, and dealerships that build specific EV expertise into their business models are turning their inventory significantly faster than average lots.
The underlying data is very compelling. Over a recent second quarter period, retail sales for used EVs jumped to 120,000 units.
That's a huge jump.
It is, and the insights highlight a brilliant, counterintuitive mechanism driving this. The end of the old EV tax credits actually helped used values.
Okay, you have to explain the economics of that to me, because losing a tax credit that's supposed to help a market feels completely backward.
It all comes down to how lease subvention works.
Lease subvention?
Yeah. When those heavy federal incentives were placed on new EVs, automakers were using them to artificially lower the lease payments on brand new cars.
Ah, okay.
That made a lease on a brand new vehicle fiercely competitive against buying a 3-year-old used model.
Yeah.
Think about it. Why buy used when a subsidized new lease is nearly the exact same monthly payment?
Oh, I see. So it totally cannibalized the used market.
Exactly. But without those massive artificial discounts distorting the new side of the lot, the organic value of the used EV suddenly becomes much more attractive to a buyer who's looking for a legitimate deal. The artificial downward pressure was removed.
That makes total sense when you lay out the math. But actually, selling a used EV isn't like selling a traditional gas car. The insights point out that used EVs require highly advanced appraisals. You have to evaluate battery health, complex software features, charging capability, and onboard hardware.
Which is an entirely different skill set. Appraising a gas car involves checking the odometer, listening to the engine, and, looking for rust.
Pretty basic stuff.
Right. Appraising a used EV requires plugging into the diagnostic port to read the battery management system. A dealer has to understand the cell voltage balance, the degradation curve of that specific battery chemistry, and verify which over-the-air software unlocks have been paid for and whether they actually transfer to the second owner.
So the days of just kicking the tires and checking the oil are dead. Now you basically need an IT degree to accurately price a 3-year-old car.
Effectively, yes. Dealerships must evolve into technology educators. Understanding battery health metrics and software ecosystems isn't a niche skill anymore. It is the absolute new baseline for automotive sales.
And I'm guessing the dealers who get that are doing well.
They are thriving. High-volume expert dealers are selling used EVs in about 30 days. They are absolutely crushing the 59-day average for standard dealers who are still trying to sell them like gas cars.
The insights even mention that some franchise dealers are strategically stocking cross-brand EVs, like a dedicated Ford dealer, specifically stocking used Teslas, just to keep buyers on their lots and handle the cross-shopping comparisons in-house.
Which is brilliant defensive strategy. Roughly 1.1 million used EVs will hit the market over a 3-year window as those old leases expire.
Wow, 1.1 million.
Yeah. The analysis warns that dealers who just dabble in used EVs will perform much worse as that wave hits.
Though what it doesn't fully quantify is exactly how much total profit they stand to lose by ignoring the segment entirely as those 1.1 million vehicles flood back into the secondary market.
It could be devastating for a business that refuses to adapt to the technical reality of the product.
Okay, so if new EVs are too expensive and complex for many, and used EVs require deep technical expertise just to buy and sell, maybe the fundamental definition of the car itself needs to change.
That is a fascinating pivot.
A separate dispatch on market trends looks at a totally different approach to this whole affordability and complexity crisis.
This is where we see the industry testing the absolute cultural boundaries of the American driver. Automakers and startups are testing whether consumers will adopt low-speed vehicles, or LSVs, priced around $15,000, as a direct alternative to traditional cars that are hovering near a $50,000 average transaction price.
$15,000. That is a wildly different price bracket, but we need to be clear about what these are for you guys listening. These aren't full-size SUVs with the features stripped out.
No, not at all.
Federally, LSVs sit somewhere between a golf cart and a regular car. They require lights, mirrors, and windshields, but they do not require airbags.
Right. And they are legally limited to 25 miles per hour and can only be driven on local roads with speed limits up to 35 miles per hour.
So you're not taking this on the interstate?
Definitely not. They are highly utilitarian, stripped-down mobility solutions. They are positioned perfectly as second vehicles for short urban grocery runs, getting around sprawling college campuses, or, navigating planned retirement communities and resorts.
That makes sense.
And a massive, often overlooked selling point is the infrastructure. Because the batteries are so small, they easily charge on a standard 110-volt household outlet overnight. No specialized wiring, no expensive level 2 chargers required.
Stellantis is actively testing the waters here. The dispatch notes they are bringing Fiat's tiny Topolino to the U.S. in limited numbers, starting in Miami. If you haven't seen one, it is just this tiny, hyper-efficient, adorable little pod of a vehicle.
And the broader economic projections back up why legacy automakers are suddenly interested in these pods. The broader micromobility market is projected to explode from $160 billion in 2022 to a staggering $340 billion by 2030. Yeah. The relentless affordability crisis in the auto market is forcing manufacturers to radically rethink American car culture and our obsession with massive, heavy vehicles.
Okay, I have to push back on this a bit.
Go for it.
Are automakers really trying to convince us that an enclosed, glorified golf cart without airbags is a realistic solution to the affordability crisis? Because if you are driving a tiny Fiat Topolino in Miami traffic, you are sharing the road with massive lifted pickup trucks and aggressive SUVs.
It's a terrifying thought, honestly.
Right. What remains a massive unknown is whether lower prices and easy charging can actually overcome the deeply ingrained American preference for driving massive, highway-capable, heavily armored vehicles.
It is a profound cultural and psychological hurdle. You're essentially asking consumers to trade perceived physical safety for financial relief.
Exactly.
But if we pull back and look at all the terrain we have covered, 3 major themes become incredibly clear.
Let's tie it all together.
First, we have this massive divide between software aspiration and hardware reality. You look at GM's AI ambitions from that digital retailing report, striving for a flawless digital ecosystem that knows your cabin temperature, and compare it directly to Ram's physical seatbelt failures in the OEM bulletin. We are watching an industry struggling to balance the digital future with the physical fundamentals of manufacturing.
You can write perfect code, but if the metal bracket snaps, the car fails.
Precisely. The second major theme is the vital, growing role of specialized tech knowledge. GM is building a proprietary data moat because that specific vehicle telemetry is incredibly valuable and cannot be easily copied.
Right.
And on the retail side, the used EV market insights show us that highly educated dealers who understand battery degradation curves are turning cars in 30 days, while those without the tech knowledge are stuck at 59 days. In both manufacturing and sales, technical information is the new currency.
And the third theme, which seems to underline everything else, is affordability. The Car and Driver Roundup showed consumers pivoting back to hybrids because of price and range anxiety, while the market dispatch on LSVs shows a desperation for $15,000 micromobility solutions just so people can afford to get to the grocery store. The consumer's wallet is ultimately forcing the industry's hand.
Which creates these wild structural tensions. I mean, we have this relentless push for hyper-advanced, incredibly fast, heavy luxury EVs detailed in the headlines, conflicting heavily with the utilitarian, bare-bones reality of a 25-mile-per-hour neighborhood pod.
It's 2 completely different worlds.
It really is. And we have the promise of these flawless, predictive software ecosystems operating inside millions of cars that are simultaneously being recalled for simple missing bolts and buckles.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? Whether you are a consumer trying to buy a reliable car or a professional working within the industry, you can no longer view cars as just vehicles. They are rolling software platforms. Understanding the technology, and just as importantly, understanding its physical and economic limitations, is the absolute new cost of entry.
You have to look past the dashboard screen and evaluate the entire machine.
That is exactly it. And that wraps up this segment of Auto News Talk. As cars get smarter and infinitely more complex, the ultimate luxury might not be a high-definition screen that knows your kid's favorite songs and adjusts the thermostat.
Nope.
The ultimate luxury might just be a physical vehicle that simply gets the basics right, keeps you physically safe, and does it at a price normal people can actually afford.
A physical machine that works, supported by software that actually helps rather than distracts.
Next time you drive past a local dealership, Take a hard look at how long those used EVs have been sitting in the same spot on the lot. It will tell you everything you need to know about whether that dealer is stuck in the past or fundamentally ready for the future. Keep an eye on the lot, and we will catch you next time on Auto News Talk.